Hello, dear viewers. Today I'm going to be talking about the Taiwanese elections and how they will affect Taiwan's relations with China. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about elections. And the election for today is Taiwan presidential election, where a new president has been elected. Uh, Taiwan's election was uh, controversial because the ruling party, the DPP, Democratic Progressive Party, wants Taiwan to become less reliant and less connected to China, although they've not called for independence directly. And they've also said that they want Taiwan to be more democratic, while the Kuomintang party, the opposition party, were more in favor of increasing ties with China, fearing that the ruling party is taking the country or state, however you want to refer to Taiwan as, closer to armed conflict with the mainland. And yeah, that's what the two positions of the parties were. And I want to see how this is going to affect the relations that Taiwan has with China. Let's get started. Here is the election. It was held on 13 January 2024 as part of the 2024 general elections. Incumbent President Tsai Ing-wen of the Democratic Progressive Party was ineligible for re-election due to term limits. There can only be two terms for the president. As such, the DPP nominated Vice President Lai Ching-te, who had secured the party chairmanship in March 2023. He was elected president with a plurality of 40.05%. And the opposition Kuomintang nominated the incumbent New Taipei mayor Hu Yu-hee as their candidate for president in May 2023. In November, Hu chose the former oh, never mind. This presidential election had a turnout rate of 71.86%, which was a 3.04% reduction from the 2020 election. I don't think that's enough of a reduction to uh, infer about the enthusiasm that people had for this election in Taiwan. And this was the first time since the 2000 election that the winning candidate obtained less than 50% of the vote. Lai Ching-te got 40.05%, Hu Yu-in got 33.49%, and Ko Wen-ji, the Taiwan People's Party nominee, uh, Cynthia Wu, got 26.46%. So, yeah, and this is the electoral map. Green is DPP, blue is Ho Tin Yi, and light blue is TPP. And here's what so, uh, Lai said after the election. In his victory speech, he said that the outcome signified a victory for the community of democracies and commended voters for thwarting attempts by external forces to influence the election. His election marks the first time in Taiwan's history that a single political party has secured three consecutive terms in office. Geopolitical implications of Lai's victory could prompt Beijing to step up pressure on Taiwan, as China has denounced the island's ruling party as a separatist force and warned voters that they will be choosing between peace and war in the election. So I think this is a big moment for Taiwan to see how um, their relations with China will go. We can see that China is not happy, and we can see that the Lai wants Taiwan to become closer to other democratic countries. Specifically, this is code for the US and the Western countries. And he says that there were external forces trying to influence the election. That means China. But I think the US, through its media and generally its Joe Biden's talking about how They will support militarily Taiwan if it's invaded by China. That kind of attitude coming from the West does influence the election as well. So both countries were uh, having their favorites in this election. And let me see how the world has reacted to the Taiwan election. China uh, responded by Beijing's Taiwan Affairs Office spokesperson said that Taiwan is China's Taiwan, that the DPP cannot represent the mainstream public opinion on the island. It will not impede the inevitable trend of China's reunification. The United States says it does not support the independence of Taiwan, President Joe Biden said. In a statement, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken saluted Lai on his victory and hailed a robust democratic system and electoral process of the self-ruled island. The Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said in a statement that Moscow continued to view Taiwan as an integral part of China, and uh, the European Union welcomed Taiwan's presidential election and congratulated all the voters who participated in this democratic exercise. The EU remains concerned about growing tensions in Taiwan Strait and opposes any unilateral attempt to change the status quo. The United Kingdom, David Cameron, British Foreign Minister, said the elections today are a testament to Taiwan's vibrant democracy. I hope that the two sides of Taiwan Strait will renew efforts to resolve differences through constructive dialogue. Japan congratulated the smooth implementation of the democratic election. We expect that the issues surrounding Taiwan will be resolved peacefully through dialogue, thereby contributing to the peace and stability in the region. Canada said that, guided by the pillars of democracy, human rights, and peace, Canada looks forward to advance its people to people science, trade, and investment ties. And yeah, I guess I'll tell Lithuania. Lithuania's Minister of Foreign Affairs said that together with the people of Taiwan, we celebrate the strength of free and fair democracy. So we can see that the Western countries have simply said that the democratic process was followed and that there was nothing unfair about the election, but they didn't say that they support Lai Ching-te's policies or anything, that they favored him. They were very neutral in their praise. China straight up criticized them. Xi Jinping in his New Year address said that unification is inevitable. And to understand this issue, you have to know the history of Taiwan. It is a complicated history of being administered by larger powers, including the Dutch East India Company, the Southern Ming, the Qing Dynasty, and the Empire of Japan. The island remained under Qing rule until 1895, when it was ceded to the Empire of Japan under the Treaty of Shimonoseki. In World War II in 1945, the Kuomintang Republic of China gained control of Taiwan. And the now there's a rise of Tangwai and Taiwanese nationalism. And from the end of the Chinese Civil War in 1950 until the mid 1970s, the concept of unification was not the main subject of discourse between the governments of the PRC and the ROC. And Kuomintang believed that they would, probably with American help, one day retake mainland China. By the 1970s, the Kuomintang's authoritarian military dictatorship in Taiwan, led by the Chiang family, was becoming increasingly untenable. And the concept of unification replaced the concept of liberation by the PRC in 1979 as it embarked under Mao's death on economic reforms. And within Taiwan, unification supporters tend to see China as a larger cultural entity divided by the Chinese Civil War to separate states or governments. However, supporters do oppose de-Sinicization inherent in communist ideology, such as seen during the Cultural Revolution. And the anti-secession law passed by China. In that law, it talks about secession of Taiwan, Um, Article 8 of that law deals with non peaceful action and is the article which has caused the most controversy and attention. It states that the state shall use non peaceful and other necessary means under these alternative conditions if Taiwan independence forces, under whatever name and method, accomplish the fact of Taiwan's separation from China, or if a major event occurs which would lead to Taiwan's separation from China, or if all possibility of peaceful unification is lost. What this says is that uh, China will not invade Taiwan, not forcefully reunify it, unless Taiwan declares independence. As long as that does not happen, it will not militarily attack Taiwan. So I hope that the new president, who was the former vice president, does not declare independence. I hope he just either maintains the status quo or gets closer to China. And I think that reunification would be better, as seen that many Taiwanese view China as a single entity, inclusive of Taiwan, and that the two separate governments of the ROC and the PRC are both Chinese governments and are not, and that Taiwan is not a separate nation. However, that is not the majority view in Taiwan, and support for independence has increased according to opinion polls. So I do fear that Taiwan will slowly become more and more independent, but without declaring independence outright. And they seem to have a lot of faith that the United States will protect them if they are invaded. I don't know how well placed that faith is because Tai- uh, the US will protect its allies and will help them win wars if they get enough financial benefit out of it, as seen in Ukraine because of Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, working in Burisma, the Ukrainian company, when Biden was vice president of Obama. He got a lot of money, and some, and there's also evidence of biolabs in Ukraine that Putin has spoken about, and so the U.S. is closely involved in Ukraine, and it's possible that the reason that Biden is so focused on supporting Ukraine and the entire U.S. establishment is because Ukraine is has financially supported his family and his government, and he doesn't want to lose that support. So yeah, it's not based on stuff like respecting democracy or rule of law. That does have an effect. That's part of the more ideological minded people in the United States government and the Western governments as a whole. But the more financial powers, the military industrial complex tend to overpower them and support wars only for their own wealth and power and less for ideological and moral reasons. And I think Taiwan should just be aware of that if they want perpetual support from the United States, they will have to literally bribe them, or not literally, indirectly. It'll cost a lot for them to get support from the United States. That U.S. did support Vietnam's South Vietnam in the Vietnam War for more than 10 years. They supported the Afghan government for more than 20 years. And eventually they could not defeat the enemy because first, I don't know why in Vietnam, but in the Afghanistan, their government that they helped get elected, or however legitimately it was. Some people in Afghanistan believe that Ghani and Karzai were unlawfully elected. However legitimate that government was, they could not defeat the Taliban. Their military army repeatedly lost battles to the Taliban. So, despite that, they still stayed there for 20 years, mainly because they were making money out of the poppy fields. I'm get saying a lot of things I shouldn't be saying on YouTube, aren't I? Anyway, my point is that it's risky for Taiwan to expect the US to support them indefinitely. It would be better for them to work with China independently and find their own solution to it and not be manipulated by the West and also not be manipulated by China. Do what is in your interest. And my country hasn't yet responded. India has not said anything. I think that's the best uh, possible policy. Just keep quiet. Don't say anything positive about it. Don't say anything negative. Please share your thoughts in the comment section. If you liked or disliked this video, please click the respective buttons. If you want to see other videos about elections, click here. If you want to see my previous video, click here. If you want to see the sources I use for this video, click the links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Vande Mataram.